This is Called Out Gospel Radio. It is 7:31. Time for Land Matters with Attorney Gloria Brown. Good afternoon, Attorney Gloria Brown. It's always a pleasure and a blessing to have you. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. My pleasure too. And good evening to the listeners and to you as well.
All right, thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Listeners, welcome again to Land Matters on Called Out Gospel Radio, located in Ocherius, Jamaica, impacting lives positively. Welcome, and I invite you to send me your questions. You may send your questions to 876-5109 or 876-868-5109. That's 876-868-5109 or 876-535-8186. So send a WhatsApp message or a text message to those two numbers if you want me to answer any question you may have. And you may ask me anything land related, buying land, selling land, getting a title for your land, any land related matter. I'd gladly assist you in resolving any questions, any issues you may have. And I want to talk this evening on matters relating to the expenses that you incur when someone dies, because it's an expensive process. It's cheaper to live than to die, because when you live, you can live day by day. When you die, the expenses come immediately. And these days, the expenses are many because persons expect you to really, it's not like the days that we heard about, days gone by when if somebody should die, then somebody would maybe come with some lumber to help make the casket or some, a goat or something. No, persons expect you to entertain them. And they don't even want the gentleman singing out of the sankey. They want a live band. And they want a candlelight 7 days after the death. They want a 9-night. They want a setup. And they expect food at the funeral, the repast. So it's an expensive venture. And I want to encourage persons, do not let persons let you mortgage your future in order to satisfy them, because we are never going to be satisfied. There's always going to be someone who never got any food at the setup. Oh, and I forgot the grave digging. How could I have forgotten the grave digging? So it's the candlelight, the 9-night, the setup, the grave digging, and the funeral. That can run you into millions. So that's a part that persons will have to deal with. And there are some communities that if you do not allow them to have a grave digging, they're not coming to the funeral. So it is strange, but don't allow persons to allow you to go, to make you incur those expenses. I know they're going to say that Mr. Black daughter, them live abroad and them so mean that them come and you see they never ever have any food, not even some water at the repast. But my mother always said dog wag his tail to suit him stamina. So you must know your stamina and the nature of your wagging. So I'm going to look at not those expenses though, but there are other expenses that you will incur if a person should pass on. So let me take the example. Mr. Black has a property that is valued at $10 million and he dies. You're going to have to get a lawyer to probate his will. If he did not make a will, you're going to have to administer the estate. And this person first in line to administer the estate would be the spouse, and second in line would be the children. The fees, lawyers charge about 8% of the value. So the first thing the lawyer is going to do is ask you to get a valuation of the assets. If he had money in the bank that you are not able to get because nobody else's name was on the bank book. He had an insurance policy where it's estate that is named as beneficiary. So you're going to have to deal with that as well. Those are some of the things that you're going to have to give the lawyer that information, the value of the estate, because all of that information will have to go into the oath of executor or the oath of administrator that has to be signed to go to the court to say what's the value of the personal estate that the person died leaving, what's the value of the real estate. Real estate is land. Personal estate would be anything else. So you have to tell them, so you have to get a valuation of the house that he died leaving because his name alone was on the house. You're going to have to get the shares that he has valued because his name alone was on the share certificate. And any other asset that he has that you will need to have transferred. The gun that was in his name alone, that you're going to have to deal with as well. So all of those, you're going to have to give the lawyer all of that information. So the lawyer can put the value of the personal estate in the oath as well as the value of the real estate. If you have incurred any expenses like for the funeral, and they don't want the setup and the 9-night expenses, they want the undertaker's expenses for the grave, the casket, the funeral home, those expenses can be deducted from the value of the estate, so that will make it less for you to pay. The good thing though, there's also something you have to pay. We call it estate duty or transfer tax on death or death duties. So when a person dies, you have to pay death duties. The good thing though is that for the first $10 million of the estate, there's no duty. So Mr. Brown died and his estate is valuing, add up all that he had, it's valued at $9 million. You don't have to pay any duty. If it's valued at $12 million though, you have to pay duty on $2 million, because the first 10 million would be tax free. If it's valued at 20 million, then you're only going to pay duty. You're only going to pay duty on 10 million because the first 10 million is tax free. And the estate duty is 1.5%. Estate duty is 1.5%. Important to note. So somebody dies and they leave a property valued at $20 million. The first 10 million, no duty. The next 10 million, you're going to have to pay $150,000 because that's the estate duty. So the more the estate is valued, is the more duty you have to pay. Your biggest expense though is going to be to probate the estate, because you don't have any rebate or any discount on that. It's not as if the first $10 million is free or anything. No. When it comes to the estate, you're going to have to pay the lawyer's fee plus all the other expenses, and the approximate value is about 6 to 8% in order to get that will probated, or if there's no will, to get the estate administered and transferred to the beneficiaries. That can put you out at about 8%. So the person died, and when you look at the value of the house and everything valued $20 million, you're looking at about $1.2 million for estate duty, for lawyers' fees for 20 million, plus you have the 150,000 for the estate duty. Okay, and so a lot of things can add up. So because of that, many persons have said, I cannot afford, so I'm just going to leave the property in the name of the person who has died. So you have generations coming after each other, and they come to you now at this stage, and the title is in grandfather's name or great-grandfather's name, because great-grandfather's son never did anything about it. Great-grandfather's grandson never did anything about it. And no one great-grandchild is trying to do something about it. So I want to encourage persons to try to deal with estates of persons who have died within 3 years of the death. Try to deal with it. I know sometimes it's difficult, and you need some period of time to heal. Okay, we need that healing period, but it's important for us to know that there are expenses associated with when a person dies. If you're a joint tenant with a person on a title and the person has died, it's not that expensive, because you don't have to go and probate any will, because when people are joint tenants, the survivor, the one who has lived longer or the ones who have lived longest, they are the ones who will have to make an application to note the death of the person who has died. And in such a situation, you don't have to go and pay the large fee for probate. There's no 8%. There's usually a flat fee in order to note the death, so it's not as expensive. But the same principle will apply, because even though people are joint tenants, you still will have to pay estate duty. But suppose, for example, the property was valued at $20 million and one party dies. That party's interest is valued at $10 million, so there'll be no duty to be paid because the first $10 million free. So the property valued $15 million or so, and two people on it, and they are joint tenants and one has died, you don't need to pay any estate duty, because the half interest would be less than $10 million. You're listening to Called Out Gospel Radio, located in Ocherio, St. Anne, and you're listening to Land Matters, and Land Matters is aired every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. here on Called Out Gospel Radio. And remember, you can join via the radio stream on the app or in the Google Play Store or on the YouTube channel for Called Out Gospel Radio. Feel free, please, to send us a text message or any message you may want to send. Please send a WhatsApp message to 876-868-5109, 876-868-5109, or 876-535-8186. If persons are, however, if persons are tenants in common, and just remind you, my name is Gloria Brown, and my aim is to make each Jamaican very knowledgeable when it comes to land matters. So I try to give to every opportunity I get, every medium that I find, I try to see if I can assist persons in learning more. And persons who are listening might be there's a WhatsApp message going around. Well, not a message, a WhatsApp play of a seminar that I did, and I know a number of persons might be listening to it. Okay, that speaks about estate planning because that's an important part of the land matter situation. Estate planning is crucial, and we are seeing more and more of how important land is when it comes to persons because we are hearing a lot of what is happening out there, okay, in communities where persons are really destroying families and destroying one another because land indeed matters. So we aim to educate and to inform. And I want to beg persons to sort out your estates, write your wills. A will is very easy to write. I wrote one for a lady today who had every reason why she didn't, but she was not ready. And after I wrote it for her, she said she did not realize how easy it was to do. Because I try as best as possible. If persons come in to say they want to make a will, I try to do a handwritten one right away. Then I get it properly signed up, etc. Then I give it to them, keep a copy, and ask them to go home and think about it. See, give them a photocopy as well to say, mark up this one, because when you go home, you might want to change, etc. And I always say to persons when I write wills for them that I expect them to sit in front of me for at least 3 times. The third one or the fourth one is usually the good one. But I don't want them to I prefer if they don't just settle on the first copy I've done. I want them to be able to go think about it to say, oh, I gave John $10, but I think he really should get 8 or he should get 11. I don't think I want to give that to this person I want to do. I think I left out that person. I want, after we have done the first one, to say, hey, let me go and think about it. And they don't, I mean, it's just a flat rate. And you're not going to pay any additional amount because I'm going to be writing it over. Because these days of technology, you come in and want some changes. Everything is already saved on the computer. It's just to just bring it up and put in the minor changes. And all the wills that I write, I witness them. Because remember, the witness cannot get anything out of your will. And that's something that I need persons to remember. I had this discussion with a client even this week because her father had made a will and she was one of the witnesses and he willed something to her. So the gift to her will fail. She will not get what he has willed to her unless the other brothers and sisters decide that, we're going to give her because we know daddy wanted her to get it. But they could hold hard card against her to say, you're a witness. Okay? So you are not the benefit. So remember, the witness to the will or the witness's spouse must not benefit from the will. So you make a will and you ask me to witness it, and you leave me $10. I cannot get the $10. The will is still valid because everybody else will get what they are supposed to get, but the gift to me will fail. That's the only prohibition that people need to remember. The witness or the witness's spouse must not get anything out of the will. But it's okay for the witness to be the executor. So you have confidence in your sister. You're leaving things for your children, but the children are young and you want your sister to be the executor of the will to make sure the children get what they are to get. The sister can be the executor and the sister can be the witness at the same time because there's nothing being left for the sister in the will. But remember, as I said, the only thing you need to remember, the witness was not to get anything out of the will or the witness's spouse. Also, another thing you need to note is that the beneficiaries, and a lot of persons get mixed up in these things, the executor can also be the beneficiary. So you make your will and you want your husband and your children to be the executors, and you can have as many as 4 executors. So you can appoint your husband and your children as the executors, and leave whatever you have to them as well. That is fine. So executor can be witness. Executor can be beneficiary, but witness is not to be beneficiary, or witness is spouse. So you make the will, you leave the house for me, and my husband is a witness. I'm not to get the house. But there was an amendment to the law a few years ago where you can go to the court now and expand the court, even though I witnessed the will, the court could still say that the gift that you left for me in the will, I'm still to get it. We'd have to prove to the court that I did not coerce you, I didn't influence you to leave something for me while I was a witness as well. I was a witness to the will as well. So a number of things that we need to know. So I started by informing or reminding the listeners that you have certain obligations that you need to settle when a person dies. So a lot of times we have the assets, we are rich with the assets because the house that we bought for $5 million is now valued at 15. So we are rich in terms of assets, but we don't have the cash. And that is one of the problems that have left a lot of beneficiaries floundering, which is why I usually encourage my clients to take out insurance to cover your expenses. Take out one of those insurances to cover your funeral expense. They have the RIPRs and so on. Most of the companies will have all different kinds of policies that will be able to assist you. And I hope that the listeners last week who sent me their messages, somebody who sent me their message last week, my title is with NHT and you want to get your daughter on the title. And I said, yes, NHT will lend the title to a lawyer to add your daughter. Okay, I think that was one. I think the other one I remember, the other two I remember dealing, the other one I remember dealing with. And I want to welcome the persons who are listening to the program from all over the world. And thank you for tuning in. And please use the information that you get from listening to this program to educate and to inform and to impact the lives of persons positively. It's very, very important. Knowledge indeed is power. When you are making a will, even though you live in America and you have property in America and you have property in Jamaica, please make one will. One will. Put the property that you are willing that you have in America and you have one in Jamaica and you have one in Australia, make one will. Don't make a will for Jamaica and a will for America. And usually when clients have that, I say to them, probate the will in America first. Because when you probate the will in America, why I tell them to probate it in America or in England or wherever they are, is that the reality is that most of those places, the process is faster than in Jamaica. And that's just the reality. So I will say to my listeners, get the will probated right over there in America. And after it is probated in America, you get a certified copy from the court in America. And then you send it out to Jamaica and we do a resealing. We get it sealed in Jamaica and that is the probate. So you understand why I'm saying it's easier than that. So you don't need to make two wills. Because if you make a will in America and one in Jamaica and it's really the last will that counts. The last will is going to destroy the others. So you have one will, get it probated in the country where it can be probated fastest, and then get it sealed in Jamaica, or where it can be probated faster. You're listening to Called Gospel Radio, located in Ocho St. Anne. And remember, you can always access this radio program via the radio stream on the app in the Google Play Store or on the YouTube channel, Called Gospel Radio, impacting the lives of persons positively. And you're listening to Land Matters with Gloria Brown. We're here every Tuesday. Well, we're on our last month. This is the last month of Land Matters. Okay, the aim is just to do a limited version of it to try to see if we can get the listeners interested and in tune with what is happening in terms of land ownership. So I've tried to cover most things that persons would want to know about. And one area that I'm not sure if I covered fully, which I really want my listeners to be to be very to have knowledge on is buying land. Please, when you're buying land, whatever you're buying, house, land, get a lawyer and get your own lawyer. Do not use the lawyer of the person who is selling it. Always survey the property. Your lawyers will guide you. Get the property surveyed first and get it valued. Don't sign until it is valued, because you might. I've seen so many times persons enter into agreement to buy a property, say for example 13 million, and when you get the valuation, it says it's valued at 9. You have signed already. And they don't have to sell it, because a man can have a property that's valued at 1 million and say he's selling it for 10. You can't tell a man how much to sell his property for. And you can't tell him that he's unconscionable, because he can decide that the $1,000 property is selling for 2,000. Okay? He can sell for whatever he wants. Is whether or not you are going to buy it. So don't enter into any agreement to buy it and give the man money and sign paper and then you do the valuation. My clients have to do their valuation before we sign, because I don't want the persons to be spending money, because it is, you're borrowing money from the NHT to buy a property and the agreement says they are buying it for 20 million. When we do the valuation, it's valued at 15 million. NHT not going to give you money to buy it for 20, because they are protecting their mortgage interest, because if you don't pay back and they are going to sell, they can't get back 20 million. So they probably would only lend you 14 or 13 million. You find 2 million. Or they won't stop you from selling it from buying it for the 20 million, but they are going to say we are only going to lend 13 on this because it's valued 15. You have to go and find the other 7 million. So ensure that you value the property first before you go and buy. And the same thing for the sellers. Make sure you value the property before you tell your friend abroad, oh, my mother have a house in country, and I'm going to sell it to you for 7 million. Property prices in Jamaica going through the roof. Okay, that's one of the best investment that persons can make in Jamaica. Buying property, the prices don't go down. And you hear a lot of people saying that, hey, I don't want to live in, for example, in Portmore. If many of us had bought houses in Portmore, we'd be laughing to the bank now, because I've always said, especially when I started working first, I always say to the persons who I supervise, buy your house, get your Portmore house. Because when you look at the little quad that was sold for so and so now, most of us can't buy them. Portmore constantly going up and up and up in value. And the many persons who have really said, hey, I'm not going to live in Portmore, many of them are sorry now that they did not buy, because they can't buy there now, because everything in Jamaica is expensive. Also in Portmore, you have some beautiful gated communities opening up in the Dumby Holden and those areas. Beautiful gated communities. Okay, of course, selling for 30 and $40 million, a lot of money, but really, really beautiful. So just want to let my listeners know that there's a lot that you need to know. So before you sell value, before you buy value, get your own lawyer. Do not rely on the lawyer for the other party. And I always say to the persons as well, but before you buy, go to the place at night. See what the nightlife is like in that area. If the noise is so low that you can't even hear yourself breathe. See if there are so many cars parked that you have to be fighting for parking space when you go to that place at night. Go there on weekends to see what's happening. If you have a chance, go there when it rains, because as I've always said, a lot of people selling riverbeds in dry time, because we have seen the challenges. There's a police station I noticed was opened last week on the way to Dovecote, and it has been there for a long time, and they have not been able to open it because when it rains, the policemen on the brink of drowning. It's on the right going to Dovecote on that road there. I'm not sure what you call that road. That's on your way to Green Acres. So go when you're buying land, go there. Another thing is, and people might take this as a joke, but it's something that I say to my clients all the time. Look at the name of the place. Harborview. Look what happens out there. Big Pond. Okay. Look at the names. The names are not, Jamaicans don't give you a name, out of the blue. So when they call a man Shorty, he's not tall. When Jamaicans give a place a name, okay, the pond and the riverside look at the names. Springbank. look at the names when Jamaicans give them. I noticed that tragedy in Texas the other day. I wanted to look at the name of the place where the tragedy, greater part of the tragedy took place. Listen to things. Listen to what the older people say in the community. I notice a lot of persons don't have any time for older persons. I was talking to some teachers the other day, and they were saying that a young teacher came on the staff, and the young teacher was heard saying that these teachers don't have no ambition. Oh, them stay at this place so long. And one teacher told me that another young teacher apologized to her the other day and said, I thought it's because all of you don't, why you're here so long, Can you imagine? Some of these teachers, I mean, they are some of the brightest people you could find, but we feel that because we feel that bright people would not want to become teachers. We have to look at what we're saying to our children. But you have a generation that is coming up that they have a rude awakening. So we need to as well educate our children. Let them know that, first of all, a lot of them just listen to what they hear. Can you imagine you going into a staff room and said, I believe it's because these teachers are done why they are staying in this school for so long. What about dedication? So we're living in a time where, well, I guess the Bible speaks about it. It's as if wrong is right and right is wrong, and people don't even know the difference. So there's a lot that we need to teach our children. And I've said it before on this program that it does not make sense for us to work hard and buy the houses and buy the land and accumulate the wealth and leave it to children who cannot think. Let us teach our children to think, and let us not allow them to be in charge. The summer holidays, July finish, we have August, let them read some books. Don't let them read it from the tablet, let them read the actual paper books. Because when they go to exams, they're not getting the exam on a tablet, not yet. They're going to get the comprehension to read on paper. And many of them will tell you because they have not been reading. By the time they finish read the comprehension 2 times, time up. Because they're not used to reading. So let the children get some books, let them go to the library, let them get some books and let them read, and also let them read to you. Because I don't know if those of you go to church listening, but I'm listening to my young people in church reading, and they're not reading well. They are reading and counting, or when they read, they don't understand the passage because the whole context is lost because reading has not become a habit for a lot of them. Many of us might say we can't read so well, so we don't know, but most of us know the 23rd Psalm. So let them come and say, come, read Psalm 23 for me because you know it out of your head and you will know when they're making mistakes. But let us get the children up because it doesn't make sense for us to be talking that land matters when the children don't seem to matter. Because we're not putting enough in them. I'm encouraging you, my listeners, on this Land Matters on Call Gospel Radio. Let us invest not just in the land, but in the next generation. We might not have children of our own. Let us invest in those who meet in Sunday school, those who meet in school, those who meet in vacation Bible school, those who meet at camp. And if you can, sponsor a child for a camp, one of these church camps, because church camps impact the lives of children. Look at a lot of the persons who have stayed in church and they will tell you what camp has done for them over the years. Let us see if we can come together. If we can't do it for this year, some of us who are listening, some of you abroad, send some money to the church you left in Jamaica and ask if they could sponsor a child for camp. One of the best investments you can do. I want to thank you so much for listening to me this evening on Call Gospel Radio. My name is Gloria Brown. I have an office in Ocho St. Anne in the Jamaica National Building and in Winchester Business Center, Shop 39. I operate out of the firm Brown, Findlay and Company. I thank you so much for joining me this evening on Land Matters on Call Gospel Radio. Look forward to sharing with you again next week, God willing. Have a good evening, everyone.
Love to let our children know that we care. Oh Lord, please hear our cry. We need you now, Lord.
The This is Called Out Gospel Radio. The time is 8:01, and that's it for Land Matters with Attorney at Law Gloria Brown.